tell me when. And...
Hang on.
This is a special meeting for Budget and Finance Committee, February 9th, 2022. In attendance is Deb Kelly, the Harpersferry Financial Officer, Storm Pecan Zanzo, the Town Council, Laurel Drake, the Town Council, and myself, Christian Patrick Holmes. Until further notice, the Corporation of Harpersferry governing and delivery body will hold its meetings and or under hearings virtually via the Zoom webinar, which provides for public participation during a public comment period when applicable and when posted on the agenda. Alternatively, the public may watch by YouTube video, live stream, and listen by telephone. These options comply with the West Virginia Open Governmental Meetings Act.
Seem to start.
Okay.
I think I'm not.
Cool. Cool of the agenda.
You want to watch online as I go?
Change
Yeah.
it.
I moved to
Okay,
approve the
yeah.
agenda.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Looks like it's everything's fine.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Approve the
Approve.
agenda.
Just approve the agenda. Okay. So we'll take care of a couple old business things right up front. First is, this is probably the longer
This
one.
is probably gonna be the longest one, yeah.
So we'll get the, while we're fresh, we'll get done.
Yep.
Okay, this is discussion and action regarding revision two for the financial year 2022 general fund budget.
So I'm gonna give you now some papers. The first page on top is just one page of a set of financials, which is through January of 2022.
Okay.
Then the stapled part is through December. The reason I'm giving you two is your expenses then. So when we're looking at expenses, you're gonna wanna look at the one that's through December because that's halfway through the year, okay? The reason that the January part is helpful in the income area is that a lot of the income that we get that pertains to the half year mark doesn't come in until January. And so these actually are more representative of halfway through the year. So that way we can take the two pieces together and have a more real picture.
Got it. So page sheet for revenue.
Yes.
We're going
I
to
get
get.
it.
And it is, I'll try to point out things that aren't quite the same way. If you see something that doesn't jive with what you see on the screen, I'm gonna share a screen here in a minute. Speak up because I have spent a lot of time on this, but it is all estimating, so. Laura, I'm just about ready, but you let me know if you need some help getting into the, or if you're in the meeting, I will go ahead and let you in on the Zoom. Before I share screen, because then I'll lose control.
I'm just getting into the email so I can see.
Okay.
And I printed out the version that was sent around just to make my little notes. Has any
Good.
material changed?
Not right this minute, but during the day, yes. So we're gonna be changing things right off the bat. So, but that will be helpful as you reference your notes,
Yes.
to make sure we address any questions. Yeah, for sure.
I'll keep my eyes on the screen, but yes.
So we're now looking for the link for the meeting.
That came in yesterday to your email at what time? 2:57, 57, something like that?
Around that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's in the middle of the email. You have to go down to the middle of it.
I'll read it
And
again.
it'll say something about Zoom.
There's that time. Yeah, 257, down. Someone's got numbers on the screen.
I have a cursed memory.
What do you call it? Eidetic memory, but for numbers.
Yeah, it's actually first one and that's it.
All the worst things, those are the ones that stick.
Okay.
Seeing that everybody has laptops, we can do this. They used to do it up on the screen up here. We'd all be back there like watching a movie.
Bring popcorn out.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be better.
And is it asking me to join or launch or anything like that? Yes, I say launch.
No, I did that for
Oh,
already.
so you're just waiting for it, and you're
Yes.
on Wi-Fi?
Oh, yeah, well, I should be. It usually hooks that up. It's just taking.
It's just taking a while, okay.
Up here, where, how did you get there? Oh, you're in your email. Over here.
Oh, yeah, this is nowhere. I'm nowhere now.
So do I double click on something?
No, just hang on,
Okay.
I'm gonna share screen, and as soon as we get Laurel in there,
I
I'm
see,
gonna share screen, and then you'll just follow along.
Chocolate on it.
But I'll say this in general comment, that the income at the end of January, when you pull out the reserves and you reduce your budgeted number to, I think that magic number is about 957,000, we're at about 75% of our projected income. So what I've done in the news sheet is expanded on that based on what we know happened last year, not projecting any things that we think are probably going to happen this year.
So very
Your
true.
audio right there.
Using the assumption, because it's mostly visitor generated dollars, that we're gonna have the same levels as we did last year, and if that happens, then
Yeah.
these numbers
We'll
will
start picking up in March, April.
And by doing that, because our numbers are really strong, I think we're gonna be able to accomplish the big goals that we've been talking about without even being concerned about the projections that we're hopeful for.
Right, so it's a conservative projection, and it's more likely than not to be grading on top of it, but if not, it won't
Right.
be, it won't be a disaster. Yes.
Exactly. And I have gone through this with Charlie. She said that she, once we make any more, the changes we're gonna make today, of course, I will have her review again, but she did not see any issues. So I'm gonna share screen now. All right, and so now we should be seeing. Okay, everybody with me?
This is salary.
And going all the way up to the tip top, start at the top. All right, and, all right, so we've got our column AH, which is the light blue, that's where we started with our fiscal 22 budget. AI, the darker blue, is our first revision, and that's the budget that we're living in right now. This is, the pink is pretty much where we are as of this moment. And then the brown or tan is what I'm projecting, or an idea projection that we can talk about and move around with as we see fit. The green column is the net change between what we have in budget right now and what we're proposing in revision 2. And the pale greeny gray is the percent of change. And then to the far right are comments. Everybody with me?
Yeah,
Okay.
it brought a big smile to my face when I saw this.
Yeah.
Good.
It could have been the other way.
All right. Okay, so nothing's really gonna change in this fiscal year for our reserve, even though we've talked about holding some money in reserve when we get into next fiscal year, if for the stormwater thing, if we don't get that paid off this fiscal year, we're gonna budget it in our expenses. But then if we don't end up doing that, we'll put it in reserve for fiscal 23. Okay, so the reserve numbers are gonna stay the same. Starting on line 17, which is property tax, where my cursor is, that can't do anything with that number, that's staying the same. Oil, gas, that's gonna stay about the same.
That changes once a year, right? The property tax.
When we set, what we do when we lay the levy for fiscal 23 is we accept from the county their projection and state their projection for our property tax, and we hold that number through the year. And it's normally heavy at this time of year because most of the property tax collections have come in the first half of the year. We will get a bump around March, but then it's gonna be a trickle. So it's normal that it's higher than half.
I get it, yeah.
Okay. We may get a little more on oil and gas, but I'm not gonna be, that's not gonna be a breadwinner for us,
Chunk
right?
change.
Excise tax, we had been at 10, we're at 5, so that seems normal. Okay, business and occupation tax, we are at 175. We had projected 128 and then 130. We currently are holding 122. So I pushed that up to 175 based on, I didn't want to open up another quote. based on, what I could see for,
Well, the merchant said they had a very good year.
I can flip into QuickBooks and look at the report too, so let me just give me a minute to open that up. But I felt like that was a pretty good number. I mean, we're well over half.
I think it's a very, very
Even
fair
though-
number, yeah.
Typically, January through March is a slumpy time.
Yeah.
Then we still have April, May, June to
So
go.
you went back to the prior periods
Yes.
and said, if I look at these same periods and apply it, then we arrive at this number. which is
Without-
75.
Even without much growth.
And that's even without any
And that's-
construction
Yep.
income, that construction income is not even,
Correct.
Makes sense.
I'm gonna stop share just very momentarily while I get into this program.
and of course, the underlying assumption for most of the revenues that visitorship will be on par with what it was a year ago.
Yes.
Great.
Now, when we start talking about fiscal 23, we may want to think about our issue that we have coming in our heads with the
340
340
Yes.
change. But that's not what we're doing right now.
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna share screen again because I logged in. All right, so let me go and double check myself. All right, this is, I'm gonna go to last fiscal year. Fresh, and I'm gonna look at the no tax. Get into the second part of the year. I did us from. Four. So that's 50,000,
Right, so if you add that to 122, you get about
April.
175.
exactly.
Good.
So now you see how I'm coming to these
Mhm.
ideas, all right. Liquor, I think we're finally homing in on the liquor and wine.
Yeah, I think we are.
I think we're nailing it, yeah.
Yeah, we got the number. Was it in
And,
the past like 40?
oh, it was big, it was,
'Cause we had a liquor store
Right, I
here.
was gonna say,
yeah, it
that
was
would
40,
definitely
it was
increase.
40, yeah.
It's more than stuck in my head.
Right. All right, let me get back to where I were. All right, that's just a little cheeky thing. Hotel motel, again, we're at 46,
Wow,
which is well over
wow.
even half of 70, honestly. So I defer to your thoughts about if you want to do anything other than mentioning the stage of 4121, so that we can go back and look at these. If we want to.
Well, like this, I understood it, we have fewer B&Bs.
They may be charging more.
Well, we had fewer last year too. I mean, you're right.
We
But yeah,
have
it's
fewer B&Bs, but we have a lot more short-term rentals, a lot.
Okay,
Hmm,
so that's
yeah.
where it's coming from, the
Wow.
Airbnbs.
Also, the amounts that are being charged in frequency, which they're staying.
And also too, the state is
I'm
collecting
guessing,
all
I haven't
the,
seen them.
all the fees now.
Well, we're starting there. We do not have this hotel motel thing nailed down yet. We still have work to do on that, but so that's a very complicated rabbit hole I don't want to get into. But yes,
Are we getting our money back?
right.
And
Question,
Christian,
we're still working on.
Christian,
Okay.
maybe you know this, do you know if Airbnb has started flowing taxes down to localities?
No.
So, okay, that's it.
Because-
I guess we're gonna go on this route.
All
right, here we go.
It's going to the
Let me explain where we are with that. We have talked with the state about this. We have some other conglomerate entities, not Airbnb, but Expedia, other places like that, who have to, I believe, think that they will be paying possibly, anticipated paying monthly their room occupancy fees to us. So they've gotten in touch with us and they said, what are we supposed to do? And please accept on behalf of all these other organizations that we represent, accept that we are gonna pay on their behalf, blah, blah, blah. So we've talked with the state and we're working on that, but we have not been able to make in contact with Airbnb. They are very elusive. Please don't talk to me, people. And so we do need to get that contact, because what I'm concerned about is, first of all, being an Airbnb owner, they call municipal tax and sales tax room occupancy tax, which it's not.
Right,
And then there's, then they're saying that they're gonna collect the hotel motel tax. And we've received no communication from them about where do we send the check.
As I asked him that, yeah.
It does not come through the state. We have verified with the check that it is not going to be delivered to us through the state. They will be paying us directly.
Wow.
And so now that we've learned that from the state, just in the last couple of days, now we are going to try to get in touch with Airbnb and say, so we don't want to be sitting here in April saying, where is your check?
Right.
In the past, we would write the check to the town.
Sure, as individuals. And then what we're gonna do when we get this sorted out is we're gonna cascade it out to the community and say, look, here is the deal. These, if you're booking through these people, they are supposed to be collecting on your behalf. Make sure that you have your listings set up to do that. And if you book outside of those listings, you are still responsible
that you
for
are.
receiving your own to us.
Yes, that's right.
So we will, once we get this sorted in the next week or so.
Do we know, and you can look it up, if there are other states that do it through the state, or is it actually, no? it's
I do
simply-
not know, but we have been unequivocally told that West Virginia will not be collecting that tax.
So it needs to be a deal directly between the town.
And think about it, why would they want to do it? It's a lot of work for them, you know?
Well, they
so-
are doing it with the municipal tax.
Ah,
But they are supposedly, but and that's something we still want to verify. I mean, our numbers reflect that they're doing it. It's not like our numbers are like, where is that tax, right? So, I mean, when we get to the Airbnb people, we will verify it. But we were told unequivocally that they will not be the collecting agent.
Okay, because that could be the holdup, like, if some states don't, that they just need to be like, have it, but, you know, and then you have to get ready.
Right, so we are, yeah, it's on the to-do list.
Okay.
It's on the hot to-do list.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so April through June 30, 11,000 on hotel motel last year. All right, and we're at 46. So I bumped it to 70. Okay. Sales tax revenue. We projected 200, we're at 206.
Wow,
And let me go in here. So last year between April and June, we
That's
did,
probably number could be low.
so this just takes, so sales tax, because it goes away a whole month behind. We only take the April number, which is 52. No, we don't take the June number. The June number is gonna come in when it comes in. So
some of this could also be the effects of inflation, so.
a little bit. So, but I feel like we pulled 52 in April. I feel like 250 is a very reasonable number to work with.
Mhm.
All right, fines, fees, and court costs. We are pulling in at a higher pace than we were last year. I just pulled a stab at that. Are you comfortable with that number?
Yep, yes.
And that court cost went up too, didn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't we vote an increase?
Well, that was the
That
salary.
was to pay.
That was-
Pay the magistrates.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Okay,
Well, that's the expense side.
Yeah.
yeah, the expensive.
All right, moving down to licenses. That's kind of a easy ticket, not difficult one to figure out. Parking, building and parking permits, pretty straightforward there. Franchise fees, we're tracking pretty straight on with that.
Mhm.
IRPs, that's a fluctuating number that has no rhyme or reason as to why it ends up where it does, so I threw a dart. Are you happy with the dart?
It's a nice
Good
side.
thing.
All right, Parks and Rec is probably, I did have a discussion with Parks and Rec chairman, and they do not anticipate any big money-making things, you know, which is where we would see a number change here in terms of revenue. They may do some small events that will cost a little bit of money, but less than they won't be doing like, you know, Music on the Ridge.
Oktoberfest is a big one,
right,
right?
but that's in next year. So what's left in this year will be Easter and October, Music on the Ridge, which they're not gonna do, and they might do another birdhouse thing, and so none of it's income, right? So I just left that at, I dropped it to 1,000. All right, meter revenue.
Yeah.
Let me go look at where we were with that last year.
By the way, I checked the meter because I didn't do anything. We get money every single day, every single day.
April through June last year was 72,000.
Yep.
You okay with that? Or you want me to
Yep.
bump it anymore?
Where are you?
No.
I'm sorry, where are you now?
I'm right on line 56, parking meter revenue, where the cursor is.
Oh, yeah.
That seems like it's a good place.
It's
for it.
conservative.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Much better than having to go back later.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
have a
we-
night.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's hers, that's her
Okay,
shared
I'm not doing
screen.
anything.
We're live on YouTube, we're recording, and we didn't lose anything, I don't think. I just can't get this crazy screen out of the way. Go away.
See, this is why we have to fix up the space downstairs. Okay.
No,
Yeah.
the problem might be that I'm over here. Okay. the
Wait till
problem
you
is-
see what we come up with. It's gonna be interesting.
Solar on roof?
Oh, yeah, we'll have that. I don't know about that, but we're gonna try to do more audio visual. We'll get there. Problem is, what money will we have?
That's the $100,000 question.
Okay, no, I don't want to start it, I just want to join it.
And the police department predicates almost everything we do, so.
Hmm.
I didn't know it was gonna be that much. But it is.
Okay, everything, I think,
Just very specific.
They
plans.
have certain things that have to be done, and we're not really quite doing it.
Right.
We need more space,
you haven't signed out, okay.
especially to add offices. Not right now, but
Yeah, just be part of it.
too, because you gotta think of the future of this building. You know. I'm not supposed to talk about anything else. I promise that we can.
Okay,
Promise.
Good. You should-
all right, I think we're good now. I'm gonna ask my ladies, girls, to just go look at YouTube real quick and make sure. we're
See what's up? Yeah.
Okay. More, what is a meeting without a technical failure? Okay, where were
We
we?
start, can we say a little intro here
Parking.
No, we don't need to, we're good.
We're good? Okay,
Yeah, we're
all right.
back in the saddle.
and, all right.
Yep.
We left off with
Parking, we
parking.
left off at parking, so we are increasing that by 35,000.
Okay.
We happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Rents and concession, that's a constant. Government grant, that's our tree grant, that's not gonna change. This is our contribution for the National Park Service. I have talked with them, they are processing our data, our form and everything, and we anticipate getting that, but we haven't got it yet.
By the way, it's been the same for eons.
Yes.
So we're afraid to talk to them.
Yes.
All right,
What?
this is table gaming. That's also kind of a moving target, but it does appear to be up this year, so I bumped that. In January through June of last year, we pulled in 5,000.
Okay.
Interest, that's also a moving target, down a little bit.
Mhm.
Refunds and rebates, that's what we get back on our P card.
Hmm. Okay.
Insurance claims, we have received income on insurance claim. So that just came in a week ago, so I'm putting it there. Lottery, again, a moving target, but moving in an upward direction.
Yeah.
Miscellaneous revenue. This is where we received, it was actually a fiscal 21 item that we should have really was part of activity that happened in fiscal 21. It was the legal fees that had to do with the street use agreement that we were to have been reimbursed from Swan,
Okay.
but we didn't get it till this year.
Got it.
Okay.
So for right now, it's sitting in miscellaneous at the recommendation of council. As opposed to
Or lack of any other
in
place to
another,
put it.
right, lack of any other place to put it.
Right.
So our overall income, we're projecting to increase by 186,000. About 9%. Anybody have any concerns about that?
Did anything go down?
No.
Was-
Well,
A small-
not small things. Not if you look in the green column, to the right of the tan column, you'll see the net change.
Yeah, okay.
So nothing was significantly, just little small adjustments, up here. No, I don't think anything
So
went down. up
nothing
here, no.
material,
Yeah.
nothing
Yeah.
in any of the big categories.
Yeah, usually I focus on the big numbers.
Yeah.
That's all I look at.
Yeah.
I'm not all, but I mean,
Well, as far as what can,
it
what can
drives our.
move our decisions,
Right,
it's the
right.
big
You
ones.
don't see it. It says we're streaming on
You
YouTube.
don't see it?
Uh-oh. 'Cause we were on fire a few minutes ago. The public didn't see that. They're missing out.
Yeah. Well, she can't get her iPad to properly charge up.
Yeah,
And the fire, and her strip works.
we checked every link in the chain and we swapped out the cord. Well, I guess.
Could
we
be the
didn't have
iPad
cord.
is gone.
Could be, or the
Is
batteries,
it an old?
like the batteries,
Right.
after a while, they just won't hold the charge.
But it was plugged in.
No, but they, after a while, they lose the ability to hold a charge.
Yeah, kind of like,
You got it?
I have an old iPad and it charges, but it goes out real fast.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Isn't it connected AC? Isn't this one connected to the AC?
It is, but sometimes even still, it still has to cycle through. You may not, I don't know if it cycles through the battery.
Okay, so,
Get us
we're
some
gonna,
information.
we're gonna start now in the expense area. So we'll want to switch from that January sheet to the one that goes to the end of December. If you want to reference that. BZA, advertisements, et cetera, whatever, that's just like not anything to be concerned about. We're not gonna talk too much right now about this general government line. This is kind of how we end up balancing things out at the end, and that number is going to change based on knowledge that I'm gonna give you soon. But we are gonna talk about public safety and the streets and transportation line. Public safety line, this increase from 22 to 83 is gonna allow us to pay off the existing vehicle loan that we have by the end of the fiscal year. And also purchase outright the new one that is on order that's waiting to come in.
We have one really coming.
Okay,
It isn't like 2 years from now, like the other.
No,
car.
it's just
This
waiting
one's-
for parts and it's ready to
so
come
this
to us.
will make sure we're compliant with.
Yep.
With the
Right,
proper
so this will
policies.
this will take care of that.
But in the last two cars, over 2 years we waited for them.
Wow,
Well, this one we've been waiting at least a year, yeah. So that's why that has increased. In streets and transportation, what we've got in there originally was the completion of the work on Washington Street for the stormwater project that was never done. Remember, you looked at the contract for
Right.
that business?
Mhm.
Is to finish up that stormwater problem that goes down in towards the Shoe Bridge property there.
Mhm.
I believe that's about $25,000. We also had a little bit of money in there for engineering work on Cambridge Street.
Mhm.
I didn't focus on that too much because of the study going towards the whole area on stormwater. I figured that that would take care of all of that. So now what we've got in there is the Washington Street completion, 10,000 for the stormwater study matching grant, 50,000 for the Army Canal Trail. And I had 50,000 in here for High Street, but I have been corrected and it is 80.
okay,
So I am going to increase this 160 to 190 to
Okay.
compensate for that.
so that communication was correct.
That was correct. We have seen a lot of numbers going around.
Mhm.
We are still not 100% sure whether this is a matching grant that is upfront. There has been conflicting information. We are waiting to hear from that. But we're gonna plan for a worst case, that we
Yes.
will have to pay it upfront and it will be 80,
Great,
okay?
I just want to make sure we're doing the project we all approved. That's all.
Well, that's
that's another
not
question.
that's not my charge here.
But that's what we'll be talking to them.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
We
yeah.
want to
So
do
that's-
this thing right.
Right.
We-
All right.
We compromised a lot and we,
Okay, so
We did.
we've made that, everybody clear about what's in there.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank
All
you.
right. Okay, so we're not gonna make really any changes on.
Oh, and I'm sorry, so, and is that, bumping it from 50 to 80 reflected in the sheet you're showing us here for the High Street?
what, it's reflected in what is in front of you now.
Yes,
Yeah, she's got it
In the
updated.
in the brown column.
yes,
On line 83, 977 streets and transportation, that had been sitting at 160, I have made
Yes.
it now 190
super,
to increase it, and I made the notation change.
awesome.
All right. Not gonna change anything on parking expenses, I don't see any need there. And down in parks, I have dropped that a little, well, it's up and down. There's some material, we ended up buying things and materials that we weren't really planning for, but I also dropped some things and tried to allow for a little bit of money still to do some gazebo maintenance. So, I mean, it is up, but it's not up a significant amount of money. Okay?
Yep.
All right, so now Visitor Bureau and Arts and Humanities. So this 35 now is half of our hotel motel, which it must be right here, this 70 income number, okay? And
So
then
that's prescribed by
that's
formula.
prescribed by state law. And then we take the 35 and we add it to the 57,500 carry forward that came in, okay? So that's why your 906 line is 92.5.
Got it.
And what I had been I had a great idea, but I was wrong. I was confused between all these little trails, but I was thinking that Army Canal Trail was gonna be park.
Right.
I was like, oh, we could use that,
Right.
Yeah.
but it's not.
That's not a park.
Get rid of that idea.
We'd have,
A long park.
we'd have to designate it as a park. So,
All right, so landmarks, staying steady. And we're gonna move down, economic development, I just kept that where it is, we don't really have any other real demand for that, so I didn't see a need to move it, you know, not that we couldn't, but I didn't see a demand. All right, office of the mayor, I made a slight adjustment in other expenses to compensate for that travel that was experienced. Council stays the same, recorder stays the same. Treasurer office is holding steady, slight increase, very slight, just for just ease of numbers, really. And clerk, this was based on some predictions of what might happen there and what was happening in terms of shared duties with the office coordinator. But I've now adjusted it to hold the balance of the year with the person who's in there, along with what had already been expended in that space year to date. So whatever money I had already put in there year to date, I added to what will be expended for the rest of the year for the person that's in there. And then I removed the shared expense between the coordinator and the clerk so that the coordinator is out of there. So
okay,
the coordinator was doing some of the task was sharing the task between the clerk's duties and her duties.
right,
And so I've removed that now,
okay.
that shared part, and that's, I'll show you down below, hers all lives down where it is. And
So,
whatever,
so is it all under police now, or simply that the clerk is separate?
right now I'm running this as the clerk,
Okay.
just as the clerk. Because we have half a year of the police clerk's wages that were already,
Oh, got
there,
it. So that's
right?
covering that portion of it. This just
Right.
reflects the portion that has to do with the town that's not police.
yeah, and there's cushion.
Okay.
But the way I've done it, I've allowed for some cushion.
Mhm.
Okay, it's really, we should come out lower. And then what we can do when we get to the end of this fiscal year, we'll have a more realistic picture of how those positions are being spread across that one person's time. And we can decide if we want to make a split,
Right,
or we want to just have the clerk be the clerk and the clerk does a lot of different things. And we just hold it in the town clerk position, even though it's tending to police clerk business, or we can decide if we want to split it.
got it.
But I figure we're not quite to the point of really having a good handle on what those percentages might be. So I'm just for now calling her the town clerk because that's kind of how she was hired, and we'll decide later.
Great.
All right, so that has come up. Litigation reserves holding, development authority holding, planning commission holding. Okay, accrued leave. I bumped that to accommodate for a part of the COVID-19 policy plan that's coming to you as a town council next week, which you all don't know about, but there's proposals of incentive for vaccination being offered that may have to do with providing leave to people. So I've just bumped this here, okay? Audit costs, we should be getting at least one more audit, and we are due 2 years worth. I have contacted the state auditor's office because we should be getting our bids for that. I'm like, where are my bids? And so they are putting us in the next cycle of whenever, I don't know how they do it, but we are on the list and I have emailed them, so. All right, now we're in the city hall part, everything's holding pretty steady, but when you get down to salaries here, you'll see that I did bump that, okay, to allow for compensation of that position being moved down here fully, okay? And then advertising and legals, no, utilities,
Oh, sorry, so for the OCL, was it that the funds were aggregated here, or is there more?
so
of a-
I took out, so if you, okay, so going back up to clerk.
Oh,
So
I
see
see.
how I had started with 17,
Yeah,
then year to date was 11.
got it.
Okay, now I'm adding in the current person.
Yep.
So that, so if you figure 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then I just kind of rounded and saw where we were predicted based on what was allocated for that job. And that's where I ended up with that number.
Got it.
Okay. Utilities, we are paying more in, we're paying all the electric for this whole building, pretty much, there's that, oh, the other thing that's in here that's a big difference is the garbage. We're paying that extra 2-3 pickups a week in high season because of the park. And
We got a
it's
bigger
really
dumpster
starting
as
to
well.
cost us. We have a bigger dumpster. So we have pulled back on that. We're only taking 1 pickup a week now, and we're conserving that way, but that will come back up again. And that's another influence there on us that's high there.
Got it.
Materials and supplies, yeah, that's, I think costs are going up, and there's nothing really exuberant, it's not like anybody's spending wildly, I don't believe. It's just that we're using it probably a little more, and yeah. All right, contingency, we're gonna come back and visit that number.
Because we're getting so much stuff done.
And that is the truth.
Yeah.
Well, they're in the office now,
Right.
whereas
That's really true too.
Yeah.
Nobody was here but me before, so I
Yeah.
only had to use 110.
Right. So you don't need pens and ghost towns.
and these laptops take up a lot of power here now.
I think we think about that, but you're right. Paper wise too. Nobody was here, so.
The
we
copier
weren't-
just probably sat,
Yeah, I mean, really
Oh, poor
not so
copier.
much,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, so contingency, we'll come back to that, cannot exceed 10% of our total budget, just to keep that in mind. All right, so police department, I gave them a little more space on their auto supplies and fuel costs are up. I also gave them a bump on their maintenance, what is that, audio maintenance. Why is that where I was, here we go, repairs, I gave them a bump on the repairs.
Yeah, that's $5,000 for a transmission
Yeah.
on that Ford.
Yeah, but we still have a few vehicles that are older, we're gonna have to, with that, and then another pair that was like almost 1,000, that took us up to cost of 7 plus the 2, that's 9, so I bumped it to 12.
Okay. Yeah, but our fleet is gonna be so new that they'll be under warranty. Well, I don't know how
Well,
long,
they-
they drive a lot of miles, so.
They do, but
Yeah.
anyway,
Okay.
all right, so parent taxes, why did that go up again? Property and that's not, it's just commercial. Here's my, I must have made a math error here with salary. Come on. Why is that like that? Hang on 1 second. Let me just fix this. Look at that. All right. So,
So those two lines are identical.
oh, wait a minute. I was looking at the wrong, I thought that was payroll tax. It wasn't. That's pension. That's a rounded number. So that's based on change in number of officers on pension.
Got it.
And probably really won't be that, because then your clerk is not. So it'll probably end up being down, but it's a good cushion to have in there.
Yep.
All right, telephone. And I mean, nothing's really big here. Okay, West Virginia Boulder Friendship number right here, this is the rate that we pay the state that comes out of the tickets. So it's it is a function of the fines, fees, and court costs. So we basically take fine, fees, and court costs, we multiply that by 0.235, and we stick that number in here. So when that number changes because it's going up, this automatically goes up. All right.
You say that state mandated thing.
Yep. All right, so overall, that's gone up 24,000. Fire department, we're gonna still pay out of our coal severance, and then we'll also pay this. Now, one thing that we might want to think about doing, to just stuck in my head and doesn't, no reason, but there are things like this that, you know, we pay annually, and what we might want to do in the next budget and finance meeting is make recommendations for those one-time out fees to be paid, one-time out contributions to various entities. In fact, track them with me. So say, okay, it's time to pay the fire department. It's time to pay the library. It's time to pay. Not now, but in one of the
Can we
upcoming
start the
meetings.
next fiscal year?
No, before, no, in the next month or so,
Oh,
for this fiscal year,
okay.
so that it doesn't all happen in June and when everything
I would
else is going
definitely
on.
agree with that. You
Right.
should find them all and then we'll just
Yeah,
approve the
so
motion.
I'm
on
just
that.
kind of reminding ourselves and me
Yeah.
that we should do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah, I don't want to overload you in the last month, you know.
right. Well, and it's annoying when it all has to come in a hurry. Okay, so now we're in the street department, and just made some minor adjustments here, but this is a little high. I'm looking into that just to see if, make sure that that's okay, but gas price is up, so I'm gonna assume it's that till we investigate otherwise. Capital outlay on the street, I dropped that a little bit just because I really bumped it up top. And I didn't really know of any like big things that we were planning on purchasing there that were finalized in the street department. So
Well, I'm not sure what's under, what would be capital for that.
well, like if you were gonna buy like a tractor
Oh, I see.
or equipment or something like that, you know,
Talk
so
about that, yeah.
so
It's not the project.
it
it's
kind
actual
of,
capital.
and we did talk about the mailboxes. So I
Yeah, I'm
left the
gonna talk- I'll
mailboxes
talk
there,
about
I
it.
left it kind of chunky there, so
What do you
got it
that
at?
might,
Do we have it at?
11,
What about?
yeah.
Oh, bring that down. I got
Well,
an
the
idea.
mailboxes was, yeah, but we do, need, you know, in case we do have an equipment failure, in case we do.
Yeah,
have-
let's
we
leave
need
it,
to-
okay.
You know, we
Is
need something
street-
there.
Are street lights considered capital, or is that the?
Street lights have their own category.
And I'm buying bulbs with your card eventually. You're gonna have to get more.
Okay, so, all right, let's get through
But
this.
they're
The
not.
street
that
lights
high.
is next on the list. here.
Okay, we'll talk
All right.
about it.
This particular, I dropped the PEI health out because this particular individual is not taking that benefit.
Okay,
So I'm pulling it out.
Good.
And I'm leaving the salary the same. And so because of that big pullout, you know, really, we've got to drop there.
I'm sorry, what is PEIA?
Health insurance,
Oh, I see, that's the name of the health insurance.
Public Employees Insurance Agency,
Thank you.
the same as the schools and everything. All right, street department. So we do have a line for materials and supplies with the street department. Do we have a projected cost?
For the
Light bulbs.
light bulbs, they're approximately $40 a piece. They put in, I checked last night, we got a couple out, but I got some bulbs coming. Don't worry about those. But there's still a lot of incandescent bulbs out there on Washington Street particularly. They're gonna burn out. We're gonna have to replace them all.
Okay.
So there's some others scattered through town. Plus, at one point, the utility power company was putting in these Lowe's LED lights. They're like 60-watt bulbs. They're insufficient. Some places we can probably leave them, but other places they're just not bright enough. And the ones that we had purchased are the best LED that you can get at this time. They throw a spread and they throw enough light. The lumens are well over
Yeah,
double.
it's as good as it gets right now. The
And
definition is
with the
the same.
technology,
So how many are we gonna have to buy and how much do they cost?
they're I think they're $38 a piece. My guess is we're probably gonna end up buying 20 bulbs eventually. I wasn't gonna buy them all at once, but
I don't think it'd be more than that, like if we need to replace as the ones burn out.
yeah, I was just gonna do it as they start burning in our order, maybe two, 3, 4 at a time.
Well, probably for this revision, that's probably plenty.
20? Oh,
Yeah.
easy. Yeah, we're not gonna, they could burn, I just don't know how long these
I put
incandescents
50
will last.
in.
Huh?
I put 50 in and that adjusts our number up 1,800. I
Okay.
don't think that
That's
that's,
safe.
and it's not a bad number for annual planning as we move forward.
Right, that way.
Well,
it
These
is-
bulbs, when you put them in, this is it. These are,
They
these.
should last for a long
These are-
time. How many, but we have a lot of light bulbs.
Remember,
Guy
Yeah,
was doing
guys.
his 95, 85 bulbs,
Oh, okay,
lights.
all right, well then, let's go with, instead of 50, let's go with 35.
I mean, maybe
Okay.
we have to hold them here. And then
Okay.
the power company comes here to pick up the bulbs.
Okay.
We're not giving them to them. And then
Although I
we
do
tell them where
feel
we
like-
want them.
I do feel like they're a stopgap until a better technology comes along.
Right.
So, and we don't know if that'll be 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years.
Yeah, we spent months on this,
Yeah.
trying to find bulbs that are acceptable. And they
All
use a
right.
lot less electricity than what we got.
That's good. So what will ultimately happen is this 13,000 will drop.
Mhm.
All right, street signs, no movement there. Okay,
Okay, about street signs, they're probably not gonna change much, but we've got to put up new parking signs. There is, it's close to, I forgot how many I ordered, 45 signs. We're replacing all our parking signs, the park mobile signs.
Mhm.
So I don't know whether we want to do that with Larry putting them all up, or do we want to hire somebody to put them all up?
okay, what, or do we have to purchase the physical sign?
They provide them,
Okay, so what we're really talking about is
labor.
which labor for Larry is in Larry's section. And otherwise you would have a contracted service. And so,
So
we
it's
I
do
just didn't know what you
have-
guys felt on this.
We do
I got Larry to
have,
do it.
in the street department, we have $4,000 for contracted services. So I think you're probably covered either way.
Okay.
I don't think we don't have a specific line. It doesn't mean that we can't create one for contracted services for street signs, but I think this is, for now, we typically have Larry do it, and doesn't mean that you would do it here, but you have something in the street department to compensate if you don't want to.
Now, if we need to do things like spot fixing portions of sidewalk, that sort of thing, is that just part of what street usually does, or is that, would that be contracted, or it depend?
Okay, so now we're talking about street department versus street signs.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
understand.
okay, so that, again, I think is on a case-by-case situation. And if it's a small thing that is certainly manageable by that person, then that's the case. But if it's something that's a big project, then yeah, we may have somebody bid it.
But it sounds like for this, our street sign cost is zero, because they're giving us the signs, and the cost will be borne.
Because we make them a lot, we make them money,
Oh,
of
yeah,
course, for us
Right.
too.
And they want their signs to be uniform. They don't want us buying them.
yeah, we do too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, they're nice signs. You're gonna like, we saw them already. I showed you
Yeah, great.
green and black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Better than what we got. But they have more options to tell you how to pay. That's the big thing.
All right, so now we're down to snow removal. We had budgeted 25,000 as of right now. We've received a total of 3 invoices that will all be coming for you for approval on payment at town council meeting, a total of $715,230. This is not out of line considering previous years. Last year, we spent almost $50,000 on it.
I remember.
So, I don't feel like it's a big aberration, even though, we all cringe when it happens.
I think
So
that's.
I
fair.
bumped it to 35. We are in February. We should be smooth with that, I would
Right.
think.
Yeah, we can take another storm and,
And
Yeah.
yeah, exactly, right.
I would definitely raise it just in case.
Yeah, and then
There we
what we
go.
can
I
do
think
if
that's
we
reasonable.
don't spend any more, we just spend a little bit more. When we do our final revision, we'll cut it and then we'll have something to put back in somewhere else.
yep,
All right, public transit, that's to the EPTA, so that's another one that if we decide to, that when we go to say, let's cut checks to various, that's another one we'll pick up. Office of attorney, right now, we're with what we have, been billed, we're holding steady, so I don't see any we need to change that. So we're out of balance by the 30,000, which is a couple, those couple changes that we made. So if you give me a few moments, I will put that in the balance for us.
Good thing is we're not running a deficit or we're not, you know,
No, it's
we're
solid.
just tracking pretty solid on.
Well,
Makes
never-
our life a lot easier compared to administrations in the past who scrambled. I mean, they just scrambled for money.
Well, and also some of what's being spent now is gonna help us build, we're not just playing catch up on things, which is great.
Well, I like the fact that we're funding projects that, you know, that we need to get moving on High Street and the Armory Trail,
Yep,
Armory Canal Trail.
right, and where there's other dollars that we're gonna be able to pull in with that.
So. I picked all that up. I think there's some change. No, I got it. All right. So that's gonna move our contingency. Okay, so we're allowed to go up to 225,000 for our contingency. I set it at 217. Actually, I think I'm gonna bump that a little bit more. I'm gonna go to 223. Tell me, what did I do there? Was that 8, 5, 5, 6? So where am I? That's good. I lost track. Okay. So that brings our general government down a chunk, more of a chunk than it had been. So I do want to make sure that we send this over to Cox Holiday again before we get it before council. So, and I told Charlie that was going to be happening, that it'd be coming to her. So we shouldn't have a delay there very much. Knowing what things that we know that we anticipate that are, even if they're half what we've been told, given that we're very conservative on our income projections, I don't think that's, I don't feel like we're far out in space. Anybody concerned about where we are with what we know?
No, but honestly, I don't have a great sense of scale, so
What do you mean?
just what the 588, represents.
So that's basically your cash to operate, and that you're holding, that's general government expenses that you aren't allocating to anything specifically to be spent.
All right, this is the reserve, so this would represent X.
Kind of like the reserves, yeah. It's really offsetting a lot of your reserves. You have almost a million in reserves, but it is offsetting them, and it's money that you're not anticipating spending. It's what you're holding to operate.
Okay.
And it has dropped at 15% basically there. So that's, we want to be keeping our eye on that. And I might not I wouldn't be necessarily so comfortable with it if we weren't realizing that we were pretty conservative up top with what we know. We were basing it on what happened last year. And we also can anticipate some kind of a shot in the arm from income that we had not realized last year.
But it sounds like it's a yellow flag for new expenditures going forward. We shouldn't get ahead of our skis.
And we are, right, we're now committing to these projects that are one-time hits, that are capital investments into our community,
Right.
which makes sense. I can justify that.
Right.
And I can when I send this down to state dollars, I will enumerate those items that we are.
And it's a bobber, so, once we've done that,
Yeah,
it's not
right,
like, we're
then
not
it-
doing this
it'll-
every year.
Exactly,
So-
exactly. They are one-timers. Yep.
Great.
Okay, so if we're okay with that, what you'll want to do is make a recommendation as approved based on approval from our accountant firm. And then what I'll do is once they approve, I will convert this to the revision format that this auditor's office requires, which is not gonna look like this,
Mhm.
but your attachment to
Oh, yes.
council
It
will,
doesn't look like this,
the
yeah.
attachment, the council will get this as the attachment printed out, and then they will get what,
The skinny
The
version
state
from the state.
right, okay? All right. So
I move to recommend accepting revision 2 for the fiscal year 2022 general fund budget as presented
We're gonna add the Cox Holiday.
by our accounting firm,
Yeah,
Cox Holiday.
Cox
Cox
Holiday.
Holiday.
Yeah.
Um,
That's the motion. I'll repeat it. I move to recommend accepting revision 2 for the fiscal year 2022 general fund budget as presented by Cox Holiday.
I'm so sorry. I'm trying to fix this background. Tell me, say it one more time.
I move to recommend accepting revision 2 for the fiscal year 2022 general fund budget as presented by Cox Holiday.
Okay, so don't second that.
I withdraw the motion.
Thank you. You want to be recommending to council the revision for fiscal 22, revision 2 for fiscal 22 as presented.
I'm sorry.
Council's, you want to be recommending that to council that they approve this revision 2 for fiscal 22 as presented pending approval by Cox Holiday.
Pending approval, got it.
That's a good word.
I misunderstood. Okay, I move to recommend to council to approve revision 2 for fiscal year 2022 general fund budget pending approval by a Cox Holiday.
I'll second it.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you, Deb.
Thank you.
Okay.
That was our big one.
That was our big
Okay.
one. Next one's kind of big, but then I'm gonna be off the hot seat. I hope.
Okay, discussion and action, notice number 2, discussion action regarding the rebidding of the sludge removal from the sedimentation tank. It's actually tanks at the water plant.
Okay, so I'm gonna now review some documents and they are, so, there's 3 different little parts to this. And the first one is, a PDF of the proposal for sludge removal that has been updated with new dates and also carries in it some updated language as on page 2 that has been highlighted in yellow with regard to the chemical and biological profile of the sludge. The original language is on this sheet by itself. There's the second one right behind the stapled sheet. The very back sheet is what I'm going to do in a minute is I'm going to share a screen and I'm going to take us into the online bidding platform portal so that you can see how the bid is going to work in that portal. Storm and I discussed, and of course we're open, but we felt that having the entire council review the portal in order to have this approved was going to be too cumbersome. So we felt if we walked you through the portal and showed you how the vendors are going to have to be responsible for answering questions that bind them to this contract, so to speak, that you then can with satisfaction make the recommendation to council that you have approved that and you've seen that and it should do these things. So one of those pieces is an affirmation of the chemical and biological profile of sludge to be removed. And I printed this out because I feel like it is important and should be carried along to council
with the PDF that they should approve, which is the guts of the bid. And this affirmation, which shows the two choices that a vendor is gonna have to make when they go through the online platform. We changed this a little bit from the original bid. It was confusing the way it was written because it said, we're providing you this laboratory profile that we made of the sludge. And we're only doing it for estimated purposes, but you're encouraged to go and get your sample. And by the way, you must provide the sample results that you got. So that was really confusing. And we're thinking, well, if somebody is from far away and says, but it would pay me to go and do this, they need to, do they come and collect the sample, or are they gonna have time? It's gonna be a 2-week window. If we upload, which we said we were going to do, upload the laboratory results that we have performed, and then ask them to choose one of the two things here, and I'm proposing a change. So the vendor's gonna have to click on one of these two options. One is, and the first things are what we originally put in the other day. I have reviewed reviewed the laboratory results of post-processing sludge at Harpsferry Waterworks that was provided in its bid, and I bear all risk with respect to chemical and biological composition, removal, transport, disposal of the sludge based on these laboratory results. Or B, I have obtained my own laboratory results of the post-processing sludge. I bear all risk with respect to chemical, blah, 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 blah. And then in the next section, they will have to upload their laboratory results. I was still a little wiggly about that wording of the first one. So I'm proposing that in the first one, we change that to, I have reviewed the laboratory results of post-processing sludge at Harpsferry Waterworks that was provided in this bid and do not require further testing to bear all risk with respect to chemical and biological composition of removal, transport, and disposal of the sludge at this site.
Okay, so do not require, please.
I got
Oh, super.
the bottom. And then on the, on this yellow, that language is basically reflected here as well in the guts of the bid. So what will go to council is this and that, those two options clearly spelled out. And then I don't think they're gonna need anything else from what I'm gonna show you now. Okay? All right, let me get to where I need to be. Go. And go back to this and share screen. All right, cool beans. All right, here we are in the bidding platform. Storm and I are having a lot of fun with this.
Oh, yeah. No, sludge has never been so entertaining.
What will ultimately happen is that when we go here, all of any solicitation that we do will be listed here, be pretty slick. And so this is what we've.
Well, Laurel, I think you know the context on this, but we never had a very particularly structured bid process. I mean, there was a bid process, but this electronic processing platform will enable us to assure that certain things need to be submitted, verified, so we don't end up with bids that someone just doesn't include some of the information. So we have the most complete information possible. And the platform will also enable us to reach more vendors who are keyed in and looking for work on this platform.
All right. For some reason, I wasn't logged in, I guess. Here we go. All right, let me get this thing out of the way.
So we had a couple of sessions with the representative to learn how to set these bids up in a way that is particular to our needs.
All right. So basic and the homepage isn't loading, but the homepage has a picture of the confluence, and it has our logo, and it says who we are and that kind of thing. So
The public
the
homepage.
public homepage of this. So when a vendor finds this solicitation, it will have the view of Harper's Ferry and that kind of thing up there.
And it's also, when we put it out to bid, wherever we do, we can put a link to that public facing
Right.
page, and they'll be able to see
Right.
our page and any bids we have, click on them.
Right.
And
So we'll
see
do
them
that
bid.
on Facebook. We'll do that on our website, all that, so that people can actively get there. We can do it in the paper if we want. We can do it on the bulletin board, put that link, blah, blah, blah. All right. So basically this tells when the bid will open, when the bid will close, excuse me, 3:15, and we pick this, we can make adjustments to that at town council, or if you decide here, we can make, but we figured it would close 3:15 at 11:59 PM. And the description is solicitation from qualified firms for firms to provide sludge removal, transport, disposal with respect to post-processing sludge generated at drinking water treatment plant in Hartsburg, West Virginia. We are going to allow electronic signatures on this. There is another more complicated identification validation that we can do, where people have to get like a notarized thing going on. But for the purposes of this bid, we felt that electronic signature was adequate. Okay, so the first, if anybody has any questions and answers, this directs them to be in contact with me through the platform, and any answers that I provide will go into here so that everybody can see them.
Great.
This is where we will attach the PDF, so they will find the whole entire document, they will pull it out and download it. They will fill in their information. They will provide a cost proposal and a technical proposal. So they're going to tell us how much it's going to cost, and they're going to tell us how they're going to do it through these two documents. They will also now here in this be forced to provide where they're going to dump it and the address of that. They are going to here make an affirmation of the chemical and biological profile of the sludge to remove, which is what we just talked about. So what happens here, this doesn't look very pretty, but if you can see, there's actually these two paragraphs. The first one starts with reviewed, the second one starts with obtained, and they do exist in separate questions. It's just the way it loads here. And this is one of the reasons that I thought this is going to be too complicated to give to everybody on council and have them understand it. So, so they are both in there. We will edit it if everyone is in agreement, so that it reflects the language discussed today. Here's where somebody will upload their lab results. If they have them, they will upload them here. And if they do not have them because they are accepting our lab results, they will need to click on this omission term that says, I am accepting the risk for the chemical and biological. They'll have to click on this right here. I am accepting the risk of the chemical and biological composition of the post-processing sludge based on lab. Okay, so they can't get out of that. They can't submit without choosing one of those two things. Start and completion date, and any comments about lead time and how long it's going to take. Then they need to make some acknowledgements. I understand that prior written consent of the town is required before I subcontract or make a joint venture. I understand if material changes to the contract become necessary, formal change order must be negotiated. No change order shall be implemented without prior written change order to the town. I understand adequate liability insurance certificates to show I hold an amount of liability insurance that the town determines adequate to cover exposure resulting from services tendered. I understand I must demonstrate and that I hold required licenses. I understand payment for services rendered will be contingent upon the receipt of written proof on the designated disposal site after final sludge disposal has occurred. I understand I am responsible for obtaining all necessary permits and licenses to comply with federal, state, municipal laws along with regulations, ordinances of any regulating body. I understand I'm responsible to pay for any applicable sales, use, personal property tax arising on this contract and its transactions. And then here's a space where if they need to upload any additional documents, they can, or they have to say, I don't need to. And that's it.
Where's the insurance in here?
What we did not ask them to, in this format, we did not ask them to submit it. We said right here, I understand I must provide adequate liability insurance certificates to show I hold an amount of liability insurance that the town determines adequate to cover exposure resulting from the services rendered.
I think that's a good idea.
And so they have to say, I know I'm gonna have to do that. Now, we're not asking them to do it right now, but
Yeah, I get it.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to handle that.
I have another question. When we submit the bid, could we set a picture?
Yes, we're gonna add
Oh,
to
me,
this.
big time.
In fact, here's my post-it. I have the diagram of the basin that
Oh,
shows the approximate gallons of sludge that we think is in there. So we'll put that up. And I did not have a photograph though. Do we think we need a photograph of it?
I think it would be
photograph.
I think a photograph would be,
Help demonstrate, yeah.
And I also thought that we should add a clause up in the front, we're under description, that we encourage anyone to come and visit the site prior to bidding, like
yes.
in this description. I would just say, visit to the site.
I would prefer they still come to you rather
Yes,
than going to
contact,
them.
they're not gonna be able to contact anybody than me, right?
Good.
Yes.
And the diagram will include dimensions.
The
correct?
diagram will include dimensions and it has some projections on estimated content, and will say that it is estimated and it is not actual, and we are not, we're not responsible for density of the sludge.
Yep.
We have,
So it sounds like our waterworks is not going to attempt to take any more out.
no, that's not true.
Oh,
They are,
No,
And-
yeah, he has said that
Yeah.
when it's not frozen, that they're gonna go
Yeah.
full bore on it.
as soon
Okay.
as the weather breaks, they will start, but they're not gonna be able to finish it.
Right, but it will lower the cost.
Yeah,
of the
whatever
work.
gets taken out will lower the cost.
okay.
Okay. So before I float the motion, is any other
Well,
information?
Do you feel like, I guess I'm concerned that we're just still, this is gonna need to go to Ken. I think I'm gonna have to have like a session like this with Ken. And I'm just not sure that there's things that I need to change that have language. I'm worried that we're not ready to recommend it.
I don't think we are. I mean, I feel like I'm comfortable with it, but there are too many
Variables.
changes
yeah,
of substance. for us to
So
do
how
that.
about this idea? How about if we have another meeting with, when are we meeting with,
Oh, well, maybe,
is it tomorrow?
yeah,
Okay, so tomorrow we're meeting with the techs on this. We'll get everything nailed down. I'll set up a time with the lawyer. And then we'll have to come back to council.
okay.
So so what you could do is make a recommendation that you approve based on the changes we've discussed, and then and you would review them at town council, or if you want to, we can come back to you.
What
Do you want
would
me to enumerate the changes
to the town?
to what I've presented, to what I'm presenting?
Uh,
So it's proposing new language about the lab results. The walkthrough, we did the walkthrough of the project as it appears on the Express. And that the final version will include a diagram, including dimensions and estimate of the amount and type of sludge, and also a photograph of the site. I think those were all the,
And encouraging visitation to the site prior to bidding.
Okay.
So that way we wouldn't have to circle back to another one of these meetings. And you'll be able to see a town council.
and I'm putting these top line details in
Yeah.
the minutes.
Okay, I take it back. You
Okay.
won't be able to see a town council, those changes. So if you want to see them in advance, you can ask me, or you can verify with me in the meeting that those changes were made. But I will have those changes made before we go to the lawyer.
Okay.
Right, and the financial officer will be running these changes to it by the town attorney. So the question is, are we comfortable doing it that way, where we don't bring it back to budget and finance? Haven't
Yeah,
seen,
I don't want to slow it down.
right,
We've gone through this once before, a few months ago, and I think,
and we have now heard it, and,
right.
and we will know, like, if something material changes between now
I
and
think
when it's
we're
presented.
experts on this. The subject
Well, and if
here.
you're comfortable with the platform, that the platform
I am.
builds in stopgaps to prevent people from submitting incomplete bids, but requires them to provide a fair amount of information,
Well, that's why the last time we did this, they didn't complete the bids, and that's why we couldn't really accept.
exactly, yeah.
So is it fair to say, for the minute's sake, that it's too many changes to make, we felt it was too many changes to make a recommendation. The financial officer will be running the changes by the town attorney and present directly to town
Sounds
council.
good.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds good.
That's good.
So it shows we've done our due diligence.
Is there a way I could get a copy of what you just showed us,
Yeah.
which was the questions that were asked?
So just the questions, the disclaimers at the end, that's easy to do, but we thought that we were gonna be able to, and we were told we were gonna be able to get a PDF of the whole shooting match to give to council. But what happens when you do that is that it's not perfect, and sometimes it prints only like half the line, or all the body of the copy isn't there, or like those paragraphs where it was the two choices, they're all mushed together, so it doesn't look like two choices. So unfortunately, it was like, okay, so
It's
do
the
I like
dialogue boxes. and
print
all
out
that.
all that stuff and do
It
I
doesn't print
physically
out
cut
easily.
and paste it so it looks like something, or do we run it, do what we just did so you can see that? Now, those disclaimer questions, I could print those out and add them to the PDF along with the two critical choice questions about the sludge, which I was gonna include in the pack to council.
Mhm.
I can do that.
Well, I think that's a good idea.
Okay,
That might be-
Okay, sure, that's no problem.
So the only real way to do this really is to just like print screen and put it in a document.
And
Well,
it's not perfect, and
it
when it
cuts
print
things
screens,
off.
it's ugly.
Yeah, it's very
There's
hard to
document
read.
boxes pop up and they can't print that very easily.
And like one time, you know, it showed the line, I'm like, cool, there's the line, but it was only like half the print, it was like cut off like that.
So when we were discussing it, when we were workshopping it, the idea is, well, if the town attorney signs off and saying there's not a material difference between
I'm good with that.
the PDF version that's neat and what appears on Bid Express, and this is the situation where, you know, these questions are represented in some way that it would pass muster and no one would be able to say it's not the same thing.
Okay. I just think it's kind of nice to see all the questions that get asked, and we might be asked that question. We might be asked what's in it. Or,
Well,
you know,
I'd be happy to print it out and I think I have it on my desk even. I'll show you after the meeting. I'll be happy to print it out and have it as reference, but it's not perfect and I can't get it to be perfect from what's
well,
there.
that doesn't bother me.
Okay.
If I'm looking at the next question, and even if it's uneven and
Okay,
spaced badly,
at least as you have it as a reference, you're
yeah,
saying,
then,
okay,
then I still have the reference.
that's fine. I'll show, when we finish the
But
meeting,
I
I'll show you what I got.
understand what you mean.
Okay.
It doesn't look like,
Well, in some cases, it's not visible at all, like some of the boxes where it's like hidden, where it prints. some
But
of
what
the
it
words-
does do is it gives you it does reference each section.
Hmm.
And that might be enough.
yeah, I don't think I want to need to see every box or every click on.
Oh, you just want to make sure the content is, so you
Is
can
all
see the
there.
I
content.
just, if I get questions about, do you ask questions about this? I can look and see whether there's a question in there about it.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. I'll show you when we finish the meeting and see if that suits what you're thinking of. Okay,
Great.
Okay,
all right.
Sludge.
so we're done with that one?
That's sludge.
Okay, that's done. Okay, new business, discussion action of revisions to the purchasing threshold approvals adopted by town council on 12/14/2021.
So that's, I sent that document out, I think today, I've lost track of the days, I think I did it this morning.
Yes.
I do have the one that's gonna go to council, I did make the changes that Laurel recommended about making at the bottom of the chart, at the very bottom of this page,
Mhm.
those last 5 items, turning them into per month, 6 items. Any other changes or thoughts or concerns about what you have in front of you there?
No, though, is the phone service in town hall, is that POTS, plain old television, plain old telephone service? Just wondering why it's steep.
The telephone service includes POTS line that comes in that addresses all the phones. It includes a hard line that comes in that addresses the elevator and fax machine in the police department. It
Okay.
includes all the internet service and it also includes the cell phones.
Got it, thank you.
Yep.
Crazy, that the plane service is now the one that costs the most.
Well, no, the phone, okay, I have cell service sitting there separately, but the phone, oh yeah, internet's off. When I do it on the budget,
Mhm.
all of those items that I just mentioned, they all fall under telephone.
Got it.
I have them separate here, but yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, this is just for us. to
And I
check
do
approvers.
split it between the various,
Usually 3
departments.
ways.
yeah.
Almost think in terms of, how can technology make things cheaper and better, but in this case, it has to be what it is.
Yeah. And then I did add the last clause on the red paragraph, because I didn't want us getting into situations where you all approve
Yes.
a payment and then, oh, it has to go back and you have to look at the check. This is, if you approve a special thing to be paid, then we're gonna include in the motion and payment of.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so if you're good with that, then you can make a recommendation for that to go to council as revised.
Yeah, I move to recommend to council accepting the revisions to the purchasing threshold approvals adopted by town council on December 14, 2021.
I'll second it. Discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Number 2 is discussion, not action, discussion regarding the general fund fiscal year 2023 budget.
Right. I mean, basically what I wanted to do here at this point is, I can pull up what we've got, but I just really wanted, it's really, really rough. I wanted to talk about any particular trends that you know about, that you, any expenses that you're aware that we need to start planning for. And, you know, we have some employee shifting that's gonna happen, which I'm gonna have to start working on. We will meet in our next budget and finance meeting. We will have the outside entities come to give their presentation. So then after that is gonna be our big crunch session. The next one will be where we really drill down on the numbers. So that's why I want to hear from you what you foresee, and I'll use my budget versus action to make notes.
I have one.
Okay.
That I've been working with Chief Brown on the police department for next year.
Okay, hang on. I forgot about their computers.
Oh.
That's right. That's right. Was that year? What year? That's 2020.
It's this year.
22.
And I wrote myself a note this afternoon because I remembered that I forgot.
Isn't it like $7,000 or something?
All right. 4.
4. Oh, that's better.
We might have it. Go, you go on. Let me.
So what I'm trying to say is I've been working with Chief Brown. I've got another meeting with him tomorrow. We're going to, he's gotten all of the local police departments and sheriff's department, their numbers. And I can say that ours must go up to compete, or we're gonna have some problems potentially,
Wage-wise.
wage-wise.
Okay.
So increasing police officer.
Yeah, I
wages.
have numbers, but I don't want to give them out yet because I haven't
No, yeah,
spoken
that's
to the chief about it yet.
Okay,
And the mayor wants me to work with the chief on this.
okay.
And they are a large expense to our
Yeah.
department.
Well, personnel. that's-
And they are talking about a couple potential officers. I don't know when that is. They're talking about doing a grant, but I don't know
Mhm.
how that works. Do we have to pay them, so the police department is up in the air.
Well, yeah, we need to do
Expenses.
some planning there.
Yes.
I have some things, I don't know if they're gonna fall in the next fiscal year or not, but with infrastructure. We're just starting to get our arms around not just stormwater, but sidewalks. I feel like street lighting
Yeah.
too might be something where we might need to address. Certainly the town hall renovation,
Oh, my gosh.
that's gonna be involved. Another thing that Chief Brown brought up with me that I think would be terrific would be solar charging stations, which would probably for not solar, but electric charging stations for electric vehicles, which is likely something that we would be able to do for zero cost to us. And obviously we need to run that, through all the organs of the town to make sure we can do it responsibly in historical context. But, and there are other things too. I don't think most of them are going to fall in the next fiscal year. And a lot of them, we will hopefully be able to get grant dollars to, if not pay for it entirely, but to heavily subsidize it. But it may mean, just like with Armory Canal, High Street, that there may be matching components that we will have to put up.
Okay. The stormwater though, aside from what we've already talked about spending,
that the actual project part is not,
Well, it won't be next fiscal year, I don't think. So the stages are this general plan where we're putting up dollars.
right,
We believe if we're able to get, it's a timing thing, but to go to Chesapeake Bay Trust, their project for engineering would be 100% covered. We would not need to match. And then after that, just depending on what the elements are within it, there are grants available for those components. So let's say
Okay.
the engineering plan said,
so we might want to be looking at matching, starting to build a matching fund to satisfy that.
and we haven't even scratched the surface really on things like sidewalks,
Right.
although some of that may be part of stormwater in that it's streetscape, and we could solve two things at once.
Mm.
You know, and then and I know it's complicated, but like water distribution, of course, complicated as to how that gets funded. But I think that there's, you know, decades and decades of deferred maintenance in this town. And we can't do it all at once, but we do need to coordinate it all at once if we're going to do it in a way that we're not constantly literally going over the same ground over and over again.
Okay.
And talking about sidewalks, we had the state here recently this was a lady who was looking at the historic perspective of our egress on our sidewalks, for ADA purposes. And that project is coming, but I don't know when. It could be 2 years from now before. And so we got to be careful with, if we try to do anything on our own on sidewalks, and then they're going to be doing something. And I was assuming the state was taking on this, but you never know.
You never know.
Well,
So-
sadly, it might be one of these things that the state mandates that we do it now, and we have to do it the way they want. But hopefully, we're going to be able to get ourselves in gear in a way that we can, when they come, we can incorporate it and say, here's our plan, let's make it work together. But we have to start making inroads now, so that when these things start to come in, we can tie them in rather just than doing them piecemeal. But I think we can.
Yeah.
But I don't think much of it will actually be spent. But yeah, Deb, what you were saying about generating this matching
Yeah.
fund.
Right, right. We should, we can like try to keep that as part of we can designate that to be part of our reserves.
And talking with a lot of people, in my belief too, if they're longer term, because it's going to take a lot of research and work to think about how we might be able to foster historic real rehabilitation in town as well.
Mm.
That's more,
Mhm.
you know, notional and ambitious, but
Right.
it goes to the same thing.
Right,
That's starting to build up
Right.
you know, an infrastructure and maintenance war chest, for
Right.
that lack of a better term.
okay.
Yeah. And Historic Landmarks has been working on potential signage in the park over here. But we don't have that. We've been talking about it, we still haven't gotten it down to, we know what we like, but we haven't really gotten it down to exactly what's going to be in this thing. And so we're still working on it, but it'll be next year.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Okay,
I thought it might be this year, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. It looks like it's 2023 project.
okay. And I know we've been talking about the town hall renovations, and that would also be next year, but I did want to just let you know that in this year's budget, we still do have 5,000 to work on the soffit on this building and 15,000 we had designated for building out the downstairs space, which we could use for engineering
Right,
review,
right.
research, and that kind of stuff. So just as an informational point of reference.
Yeah.
We're gonna probably come together on this faster than I think. I think there were some really good ideas last week. I was leading that, and I was very impressed. And so we're gonna have one more session on the 17th, and we'll get some more ideas. But I think we're I kind of see something there
Right.
Good.
come
Solar.
together.
Solar.
Good.
You're going to hear me say that 1,000 times, Christian.
Solar.
And we probably should, going back to computers, we probably should take an inventory of what we've got here. I know that when I first got here, we did upgrade every computer upstairs except for mine. And I've talked with advantage, and I'm not having any problems with it, but they said, you know, you're gonna wanna look at it just because of the age of it. We do have some, for the police department's immediate need, we do have about 4,000 in their police department supplies as wiggle room right now, so I don't think we need to go back and further revise. And I think that we're definitely going to need to revise again before the end of the year, so we'll be able to move around in there
Okay.
and then fix it at the end if we need to. I think we'll be all right.
Oh,
And
other, sorry.
there's also 5,000 for equipment outlay capital in City Hall
okay.
that hasn't been tapped into or spoken for, so that we could also work it that way for an intermediate point. So excuse my jump, but.
Oh, no, I was jumping. So now I jump in. So trails, that's another thing. I don't think that'll be heavy, but if it does come to pass with the connecting trail between the Promontory and Washington Street, that would be a chunk. Again, there may be other sources to secure grants and the rest, and other places that I know that Trail in Town Alliance has been looking at.
I think one thing I wish we could do is upgrade our Corporation of Harpers Ferry website.
Yes,
Oh
oh my
my
God,
God.
yes.
It is,
I put that toward the top.
that
of the
really
list.
needs to be done.
Right, give me a number.
I don't know that stuff.
I do.
right.
We're so
Okay,
far
well, why
behind
don't
our
you contemplate a number
towns, I
and
mean-
let me
Well,
know.
top of my head, 20 to 25.
even Baldur's Way got a really nice,
Yeah, we've just got to deal with
Follower?
that. It is just killing us.
I mean,
fancy,
yeah,
nice one.
it's just outdated for our needs, and it
Yeah.
involves not just the physical doing and coding, but working with someone who can break down the needs and translate it.
And not only that, but just when you get to basic financial interaction with the community, where the state auditor's office has told us within the next, I think it's 2 or 3 years, we're gonna have to be set up so that we can accept payment from people using electronic means for
Mhm.
whatever taxes or anything it is that they have.
Mhm.
And our website is not secure enough to do that.
Well, there are ways you can do it where it doesn't have to be on the website,
Well, I know,
if you have
but,
the right platform, but, you know.
right, but then if you're gonna go through all of that, why not build something that incorporates all that and
Well, actually, the reason is it's often easier to use a third party
then
source
yeah,
that you
gotcha.
can brand, so that it's also liability. Like with my company, we don't hold any credit card information, personal information.
Yeah.
It's all due to the third party
Of
vendor.
course,
And that, but it's easier to do that if you have a modern platform
Right.
that enables you to do that. And also, probably in addition to just overhauling it, like we'll want to have someone, it doesn't have to be an employee, but basically someone to help do the more mechanical stuff with the website, so that the reporter and anybody else, you and me, anybody who needs to do things, that we can do most of it, but that if we need this widget that for compliance, or we want to add a feature or to show a project, that'll be relatively quick and easy for someone who has that expertise and probably not cost us a lot, but that we can communicate a lot better with the public, and also things like just our file structures and how we show minutes and the rest, make it easier, more reliable, more consistent, searchable, like all these things.
okay,
That's why like 20 to 25
Alright.
is probably
Okay.
about where it's at.
Well, I think it's some serious money we have to spend on it, because we've not done anything forever on it, so. And I'd like it to be more customer or resident friendly. It's more for us
so
almost.
awkward to work with.
Well, that's one of the things you can do with sites, is you can have it where, residents, click here, visitors click here, and that way it's not all in one place. The way the site is designed now, that was sort of how things were done when that site was designed. But now there are that are more cleaner ways to present things.
Well,
They
I've
couldn't
been-
be two separate sites.
A lot of towns, I've been looking research on the police thing, and I looked at it, I mean, they got some nice stuff, there's stuff out there already,
When you look at different governing bodies, often there will be separate sites for different organs. I don't feel like Harper's Ferry needs to go that far,
Yeah.
but they can be separate pages within the site. As long as you have that hamburger bar that, the click down, that you can very quickly
Right.
navigate to the different subsections.
Okay.
I think the other thing, money wise, is it's not gonna change much, is the old time Christmas. They're still gonna proceed, even though, the closing of 340
Mm.
starts in September. But they're gonna still move ahead with their event, so it's, so.
But it should be less than what we have been getting. I mean, they said this was a big one because of the anniversary and things like that.
Oh,
I don't,
I'm sorry.
I was at the meeting. Well, I can tell you that there's gonna be a lot of funds probably spent by the county visitors bureau to promote the trains coming to Harper's Ferry.
Well, they're gonna come and do their presentation next time. So
Yeah, we'll hear what they have to say,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying they're gonna do the event. They're not.
Yeah,
Not doing
oh, because of that, right, okay.
I've only done preliminary research on it, but there's a possibility we may need to purchase flood insurance for some purposes. So that might be a thing that's coming up.
Okay.
Yeah, I think most of it will be covered under this matching fund bucket that we don't have to specify exactly what. There's a lot coming down the pipe.
Okay,
Anything wrong you can think of?
okay, all right, well, let's
Okay,
go with that.
moving along. Discussion number 3, discussion action regarding the Armory Trail Matching Grant Funds.
Okay, so what I was thinking there is that you would want to make a recommendation to council that, and that is on the town council agenda.
Mhm.
So you're gonna want to make a recommendation that they approve the matching fund for the Armory, whatever you call that.
Armory Canal Trail.
Thank you. In the amount of $50,000 to be paid from line item 977 streets and transportation. And that is, of course, we'll first approve the revision. So it's in the revision.
Would that be under, discuss, because I see Trail and Town and Alliance discussion and action regarding Bridge Street connector. trail?
No,
That's
This is
this
the-
number 3.
yeah, but she's looking at something else.
This was sent out by
Oh,
Patty.
is it not on the?
Go to budget and finance. Potomac Street extended.
Oh, okay,
That's another
Yeah.
name to call it, actually.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Should we call it
And that
that?
was my choice of
A
words.
really old name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
you
mean, I've
can
heard
correct
it.
me in the meeting, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
what we can do is it can be Armory Canal Trail Parens, Potomac Street
Right,
extended. That's where
exactly.
we're covered.
Yeah.
Okay, I move to recommend to council assigning $50,000 to provide matching funds for the Armory Canal Trail Parens, Potomac Street Extended Project. Funds will come from line item 977, Streets and Transportation.
Well, second that. Discussion?
So I must have missed that, so we're providing matching funds? The
Correct.
town is doing it?
The town is going to provide 50,000 and the state provides, is it 233 now?
Something like that.
Yeah, they're gonna do that. They won't proceed until we start giving them money.
Originally, the match was 117 and they were going to provide 500,000. The mayor and Chris Craig had discussions with DOH and they worked it out so that they would scale back some of the work. I think
Okay.
mostly trees in the canal prison.
Did we send out an appeal for donations? Oh, for this particular item for matching funds?
Appeal for donation.
For for matching funds.
Well, originally, back when it was first passed, there was going to be some mechanism by which Harper's Ferry's match was going to be covered. That disappeared. So that's when we ended up in the spot where they said 113 or it goes away. So then when the mayor made the trip down to Charlestown, they met with the various officials.
Mhm.
And in the wake of that, came to a method by which the project would be scaled down. Therefore, our match would be lower, but we'd still be able to get the canal and the trail. My understanding is the key part of it that makes it attractive and wonderful is that it's still going to be the very nice, I call it a C&O Canal style trail. But it may not have from the outset things like interpretive signs all the way. I think that it may not have as much as the vegetation removed, like currently the canal prism is just, just trees. But they will have to, in order to do the work and adjust the drainage along there, to take enough of the vegetation and trees down to facilitate that. So it'll be a first-class trail, which is not going to have all the bells and whistles, and that's something we can work on.
It's still gonna be a bicycle trail, right?
Yes,
Good.
it's a multi-use
I
trail.
remember Chris
That's
talking
hot on
about,
that. That's really hot, yeah.
about the reduction, yeah.
And it was Chris who's been continuing to lead this and working with, along with the mayor to arrive
And
here.
that doesn't mean it's the end of the line here. It means we can go back and try again later on. But right now, all we can afford is this.
And we'll see,
I think
but,
it sounds good.
and there could be success on top of success in that the park may see the appeal, since it is also has to.
There are
be
properties right alongside of it.
either side. So they may see the benefit now that we've literally paved the way to maybe this is something that they would want to do and tell the story of Island Park and tell the story of the canal and all these things.
I wish they had the basin cleared out.
I know, that would be
That would be so
wonderful.
cool, get all those trees out of there.
Yeah, 1991, that was, it
Mm.
was open and clear until then.
So, all those in favor?
What was the second? Yes, it was.
I second it. Okay, discussion action, number 4, discussion action of High Street matching grant funds.
Okay, so that's your 80,000 from line 977 streets and transportation.
So this is the same deal.
Yep.
All right, hang on, I just wanna.
He's on a roll here, man.
Yep.
Sometimes you're on a roll, I've been on a roll.
Oh, yeah, it's copy paste at this point, so it's all very much a collective product. I'm sorry, the amount was
80,
80.
well, let's say up to 80.
Up to 80, right, leave
Yeah.
ourselves
I
around
want to make sure they do that the way we like.
that. Yes, okay. I move to recommend to town council assigning up to $80,000 to provide matching funds for the High Street Improvement Project. Funds will come from 977 streets and transportation.
I'll second it. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Number 5, a discussion action regarding the budget planning for the Hilltop Complex reservations and maintenance expenses.
Town
Oh,
hall,
wait a minute.
What'd I say?
Hilltop.
You
Oh,
said
I'm
no.
sorry. It's on believe me.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
All right,
we're-
come on, get them all
we're-
back.
We're not giving them squat.
Hilltop, sorry, guys.
Oh,
What's
already.
on the mind? Okay, discussion action regarding the
Hilltop.
budget planning for the town hall complex
There we go.
renovations and maintenance
Not nearly
expenses.
luxurious.
Uh, The reason I put that in there was I just wanted to start getting around this thing. We've had our first meeting last week. We're going to have another meeting next week. We have, as Deb was pointed out, we have $5,000 for exterior painting of the soffits. And we have 15,000, it was to do the downstairs section of the building. Though we'll use the funds, but we may change what we use them for.
And you might want to actually, in this motion, redesignate that. You might want to say, you might want to recommend that.
I didn't do it, write anything on this, so.
Well,
that-
definitely, I would just move all the monies or
Well-
just the 15 down at the,
Okay, hang on, let me get to it. I mean,
this is a bigger project than
Yes.
I initially thought. This is,
Plus, gotta have solar and all these other things.
yeah.
all right, so right now, that budget line in the new revision is $38,000. It is a building maintenance and repairs to building,
I'm sorry.
okay?
is
It's
that-
not a capital
You
outlay,
say 38?
huh?
How much?
30,000 is what's sitting there. However, we've consumed 5,500 of it. And what had been allocated was 5,000 for the soffit repairs and then 15 to build out the space and then another 10 just for regular maintenance, right?
Right.
So what I was thinking was that you'd say that redesignating that 15,000 from that line item from building out that space to go towards
planning, contracting for an engineer to do research, whatever you want to call that,
Mhm,
rather than actually building out that space.
right.
Okay,
We want, just so you're aware, as you can see, the floor here is like sinking.
A roller
and stuff.
coaster
I mean, the building has to be looked at. It's like
for
getting-
structural
for
purposes.
structural purposes. I mean, we don't want to be doing things to this building that, one, it compromises it further, and two, we want to make sure whatever we do
yeah,
will be good. I mean,
right, gotta start from a firm foundation, otherwise everything is
Correct.
toast.
it's like a building inspection. I try to explain when you buy a house, a lot of times you want a building inspector looking at the place before you buy it.
Okay, so it's redesignated 15,000 from,
From line item 440, City Hall, maintenance and repairs to buildings.
uh,
And I would say not 15, I would say up to 15.
and, okay, so redesignating 15K from 440 to conduct. Do we need to specify what it
Was
was?
to hire a structural, well,
I would say to do preliminary studies
Yeah.
on the building for potential future renovation.
what's good on?
Again, up to 15. I mean, and I don't know how much that costs, but at least you've got a starting point and you can get some bids and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's something really we need to do soon.
Yeah.
We
Okay,
don't know what
so-
we're getting into here.
I'll be prepared to pull the motion if I miss something. I move to recommend that council redesignate up to $15,000 from 440 City Hall maintenance and repairs to buildings to conduct preliminary studies on the town hall structure for potential future renovation.
It's probably more, I was just thinking about more structure. It's also plumbing, electrical. We just got to look at all
So structural integrity and planning.
I withdraw the motion. Studies on the town hall structure and related
Infrastructure.
infrastructure.
Yeah, we need the whole thing looked at. I mean, if we're gonna add more offices and stuff, well, we're gonna need more electrical. Is our electrical panel sufficient? I don't
Oh,
know,
yeah.
you know?
Issues, security, there's a lot of things.
And this is still narrowing out that, we're not talking about where we're gonna put the couches,
Right.
so it's
Right.
very clearly about the buttons. All right, I move to recommend the council redesignate up to $15,000 from 440 City Hall maintenance and repairs to buildings to conduct preliminary studies on the town hall's structure and related infrastructure for potential future renovation.
I'll second that. Discussion. All those in favor? Aye.
Winner, chicken dinner.
All right,
All right.
that's for last here. Let's talk about this one a little. This is, well, let me go. Number 6, discussion and action of installing mailbox racks versus relocating mailboxes with new posts to maximize parking on Washington Street. This is a project that the parking committee has been involved in for a long time. We realized back in the day that we actually, Nancy Case is the one who kind of brought it up initially. And, oh, here it is. And so we came up with the idea of doing racks.
Mhm.
This is not the rack, but this is the concept of doing racks.
And those are not the boxes.
And those are, and it would be the owner's boxes. So I came up with another idea that potentially save us a lot of money. And that is, I have some pictures here, but you walk along Washington and you'll see. But I know is actually, instead of doing racks, someday we might do it, but I'm suggesting just pull the boxes out of the ground, put new posts on them and move them. Some of these boxes, I can show you, they're like in the middle of a section where we can park at least 2 cars and we can shove the boxes, don't change the order stays the same. We just move them down towards an end of a street where we can't have parking anyway.
So basically, gather the penguins, individually.
Right.
and not get into the business. of-
And they don't need to be 3 feet apart. The biggest problem we're having this year, if you'll notice, there's a lot of new mailboxes. So they're stretching out now. And I really like some of the boxes that are right across the street from the ATC headquarters. Those owners there have put in boxes, nice black poles. They're all about the same height. They're different boxes and one's a little different, but they basically look pretty good. And they're in a section where there is no parking. I don't want to put more well, we don't even control it. The post office doesn't even control the boxes. They own, just residents here put boxes up. But they're adding on, so they're getting longer now. The string is getting longer, and the other problem is they keep putting them this far apart. What's the point? Just squish them together, and we can get more space. And I'm just
guidance. I don't think anyone's being
No.
rebellious. I
No,
think
it's just,
there's
well, I guess I'll put my box there. No, I agree.
There's no mailbox permitting.
It's like,
there isn't, and all the boxes I've thought about it are sitting in our easements. So I believe we have the
That's true.
authority to
Absolutely.
move these boxes. I think we should notify the owner. The parking committee wants to notify owners that we're, if we did the rack idea, but is to just squeeze them up. Racks can be done someday. I looked at doing something with your blacksmith guy. But yeah, it's a big project and it's gonna take a lot of time.
where would you put these boxes? You're saying you literally, they don't change except for being occupying a smaller area. They're not being moved down the street or anything.
We may have to move some down further from where they're at. They may move like 20 feet, but they need to be closer to an end of a block rather than in the middle of a block.
Well, it kind of sounds like a two-pronged project. It sounds like, one, you want to designate some funding or make sure we have funding to do whatever it is that you want to do. And then you have the logistics, which would be sorted out from the parking committee, not necessarily by us.
Yeah, I think at this point, there's not a motion, but I think it's good for us to talk
And we
through it.
did talk about, I thought we had in here in our budget for this year,
We do
something
have
about
money in it.
mailboxes, so let me see if I
It
can
was
find it.
$11,000.
Right, if there's gonna be racks, and I guess,
We're not gonna do racks.
Yeah, so you have
If you
plenty
guys
in
think
there.
that's fine, but
I like the poll idea.
hang on, let me just pull up a picture here and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Frankly, I kind of like that, that the mailboxes won't be quite so uniform, the
See,
way racks are.
So here's the picture. I just took the picture today.
Yeah.
So this box is new. And they keep adding them on. This is Columbia right here, and this is the Kaufman House. So in front, that's actually Hilltop property, but you first of all, that sign is way too far over. We can bring that in closer to Columbia, but all these can be moved over. They don't need to be a mile
Yeah, I
apart.
think it's mostly,
So you have,
Here's another.
Is that preventing people from parking there?
People are not allowed to park in front of a mailbox. That's just to give, you can get a ticket for that.
they do.
I'm sorry.
They're not supposed to. But we have signs for this.
I think it's mostly, a combination of people being polite, not wanting to crowd other people's boxes.
I
And
know,
also,
yeah.
if you're putting one, it's easier to put it
All right, all
in.
right, all right.
Here's another example.
I don't think our charge is to figure out the logistics.
Okay,
Our
well, I'm
charge
just
is
letting
to
you know.
say that we do have money in our budget that we can dedicate to this, and your plan is gonna consume less of that money.
Correct.
And so go forth, parking committee.
And also,
Sorry,
it's
but
res- and
we
it's-
could be here all night
Yeah.
talking about this,
Yeah,
and it's
I-
not what we say
Yeah.
isn't gonna be the plan.
Also germane that it will result in more net revenue, so.
That's the whole idea.
Absolutely, sure.
The net parking spot is worth, I
And it might
calculated out.
actually keep people from parking in front of the mailboxes.
Yes, and increase
Correct.
safety, if you're putting it to the corner, but that's not a
And
financial matter.
increase safety if you'd like to get the mail out of your mailbox for when
Very
someone
much
has
so.
parked in front of it.
Yes.
So I was just kind of running it by, it didn't really need a motion per se, but I'll work with I gotta start up the parking committee. And,
Sorry, but man, that's a big rabbit hole. It's
Yeah.
6
So
o'clock.
the
Oh,
parking
yeah.
committee will come up with a plan to notify owners and explain. things.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's a newsletter and it's actually putting probably a piece of literature in each. We can't put in the box, but we have
And
to
mail it.
mail it to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll mail.
Yeah,
them.
we know
We'll
they have
numbers.
boxes.
We have their
You
boxes.
got their boxes.
So I'm just saying, we can, where it comes in budget and finance, it will generate more parking revenue. And probably in the
also, if
first
it's
year
in
will
the-
be plus.
If you're asking people to yank them out and all that kind of stuff, it's that you may need to,
We'll do it.
right, so that's what you want to
That's the sales
explain, is
job,
that that's,
yeah.
yeah, exactly,
We'll do it, just to
Yeah,
let
right.
you know, and we can do it, we'll do it whether you want it.
Right.
Comes to or not, but,
right.
but here are the
Fair enough.
benefits.
And
Yes,
this is something whether we want
Cool
an
beans.
outside person to do it, or do we want Larry to do it?
so it's no
Maybe.
That's a
motion,
whole nother-
but
Yes.
it's fair to say that there's consensus of the committee to go for it and
Yeah.
pursue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you agree with that, Laura? I don't want to speak for you.
Yeah, I think it certainly can be looked at. Because the way it goes now is that we will continue to lose parking spaces.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, they're gonna keep adding more.
Yeah, it's the
Nothing
line in
preventing
the-
Right,
that
and
from
what happens
happening.
is if you're gonna put a new one up, you say, well, what did everybody else do? Okay, that's about 4 feet apart, I
Yeah.
guess that's what I'm supposed to do.
Inertia.
So that's what's
That's
gonna happen,
exactly, that's exactly what is happening.
people think it's the right thing to do, yeah,
right,
great.
exactly.
Okay, so just letting you know. Okay, so I guess we're done.
Look at that,
But
we're done.
I motion that we end our meeting.
At 6:04 PM. I second.
Two hands.
Yeah.
Multiple